think for the target audience, Tommy Foolery might be a pretty decent all grown up episode, but for me personally, I didn't really care for it. I'll get in with the main narrative in a moment. This is the 11th episode of the first season, and the smaller narrative involves Angelica, and she's trying to get the date that she wants for the dance. And honestly, I feel like that was a really underdeveloped part of the narrative. We didn't have enough of it that I felt like I really cared about it, but it was in it and enough that I had to pay attention to it. And I don't really think the balance in this episode was particularly great. But what we got of that narrative was okay. The main narrative focuses on Tommy and the others pranking Dill, and they're pranking him so that Dill believes aliens are trying to communicate with him. And it's quite creative. They do things, the kids, the Rugrats do things like turning the photos in the house upside down, except the photos of Dill, and several other creative things. Credit where it's due, I think it's quite a creative episode. And Dill obviously believes that the aliens are trying to communicate with him, and it's unclear whether Tommy and the others will reveal the truth or just how far they're willing to let this go. I think the narrative's fine, it develops well enough, but for me, I don't care. I hate pranks. I hate pranks. I don't care about aliens. When it comes to horror, I like alien based horror, but other than that, I'm not a big fan of anything that centers around aliens. And I don't really love Dill as a character. I don't mind him, I've got nothing against him, but in terms of having focus on one of the characters, Dill's probably my least favourite. At least out of, Tommy, Chuckie, Phil, Lil, maybe Kimmy as well. I find Kimmy's not that interesting in All Grown Up. But either way, I'm not that bothered about Dill. I wasn't really emotionally invested in his journey. I don't like pranks. The alien aspect doesn't interest me. And I feel like the story with Angelica was really underdeveloped. So I don't think Tommy Foolery is a great episode. As I said, for the target audience, it might appeal because obviously a lot of young children do like pranks. They like the idea of aliens. Not every child, of course. I am generalizing. But I guess the point there is that I'm aware that there are things in this that don't appeal to me. So it's not completely the episode's fault, but I still think the balance wasn't great. And it does have a pretty nice message in it about how Tommy should be treating Dill and that he shouldn't be, treating his brother this way. And I think the way Dill responded to it was pretty realistic, especially for that character. So there are some good things about the characters and bits of the narrative, but I still think it's a little bit of a messy narrative that needed a little bit more work. Needless to say, Tommy Foolery is not one of my favourite episodes. It is watchable, but I think so far it might be my least favourite episode of All Grown Up.